Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining today's open demo webinar. As promised, no slides, no fluff, a real story and real demos. And I'm super happy to host for this call Danielle Roop from ProDriven. Danielle, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm here from ProDriven. We've been working with the tribal team for several months now within the new AI space and trying to understand vibe coding. And it's been a really interesting journey with tribal and using it in our space. So really excited to talk about, a real use case with you all and coming from a perspective of a non-developer. So happy to be here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Danielle, we told the story of ProDriven and the tremendous work that our team, together with Tinker Time, did from the beginning of fall last year's. Tell us a bit from your perspective about your Salesforce team size, your role on the team, and how you
Absolutely.
experienced the collaboration so far.
Yeah. So just to kind of back up a little bit with my journey with ProDriven, I started at this company 5 years ago in the customer care space. So, we always talk about for teams, it's people, processes, and systems. And I started in a process and systems type role. So even though I was with a service team, I very much was focused on the systems that we were using and the processes that we were using with those systems. So, getting to understand how our service team uses our main source of corresponding with our customers, Salesforce, I basically expanded my journey from customer care into IT. As far as Salesforce goes, has always been a very small team. It's usually one developer and one business analyst. And I filled that business analyst role and was talking to the business and helping them understand how does this system work and what can we do to systemize our processes. And in the world of early AI or no AI, that's very difficult to do sometimes if you don't have a developer who knows how to all the automations work, the limitations that certain objects have. It can be difficult to help users understand that, you know, things don't just turn on with a flip of a switch. It takes a little bit more investigation and research and sometimes code to get something to work the way that they need it to work. So when we got introduced and hooked into tribal, and it kind of helped us explore our system and our environment in a way that we didn't really have an easy way to do before. Between tribal and other AI tools that are coming out, it's just been that much easier for us to get plugged in a lot faster and move projects along that previously took us a lot longer to do when you just have two people working on a system. So, we went from maybe taking 6 months trying to wrap up a project to a month to 3 months
Wow.
getting something out there and presented to our users and hands-on actually getting feedback and using the different features that we're launching from it.
Amazing. We're so proud to see this kind of acceleration extended to your team. And as we were
Absolutely.
speaking over the past couple of weeks, you told a story that I really hope that you will share with us today. Tinker Time, the tribal team, we've built in many ways a pretty substantial reimplementation of your sales cloud. And there was this one capability that you needed to drive forward. So maybe we could even take a look
Yes.
at what was built and tell us what you needed to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So here in the US, we have several regions that we deal with. One of those being Australia. And Australia had a unique business case with their sales team where they have their sales reps go out into the field and talk to customers on a one-on-one. And they'll talk about, just what's going on with the business. They'll talk about different products, new products that we may have launching. They'll also talk about different promotional campaigns that we might be running at the time. Well, what was unique to Australia is not only do we have these promotions running, but we have several promotions running at the same time. And we were using at the time, so if I back up just a little bit here, we developed a sales platform for them to be able to log these interactions. And the first version was really using a lot of Salesforce screen flows and automations to create those task records. Well, if anybody on the call is familiar with task records, when it comes to task records in Salesforce, they are an extremely limiting object. They do basically a one for one lookup, and you can't have any more than that. And because we had these campaigns that were running all at the same time, Australia had a unique business case to where we had to allow more than one campaign to be logged on a task record through a lookup, right? So the version one, definitely we could not make that happen. We probably could, but it would have been way too over complex, and the user experience with that probably wouldn't have been as smooth. So this is actually version 2 of the interaction logger that Tinker Time helped us develop. Like I said, we used a screen flow before, and it was very much the basic Salesforce screen flow. So when Tinker came in and did what they do best and tinkered with the layout a little bit more, they used Tribal to build this very sleek looking interaction logger. So, it basically does the same thing as our previous ScreenFlow did before, but it's way more interactive. You can see the different information that I have filled out today, and it was very much responsive to what the user was doing at the time. So you can see here, I've scrolled down just a little bit where the user can now select more than one campaign and provide additional feedback if it's needed. And basically, once I click log interaction here, it's going to take a second to load, and then we can view task. And if I scroll down here, you'll see the typical lookup, which will give the user or the campaign ID, the Salesforce 18 character one. But if I scroll down a little bit further, you'll actually see the text for campaign 2 as well. And this was the thing that I helped kind of add on once Tinker did their process of getting this version 2 out. And I did not rely upon them. I did not call upon them to actually make that change. That was 100% something that I did, which was exciting for me as a non-developer.
How did you do
So
it, Danielle?
yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to go over here to our tribal environment now. And I'm actually already in the project. So, I know this is the project not only by the naming convention used, but by looking at the components, I knew without going too far off of this screen that this is the project that I am referring to. And if I go over to the chat here, you can see that the last deployment that was done was beginning of May. And that was when we did the version 2. We released the version 2 that you guys were just seeing shortly after that date. So, I was able to come in here at the end of June, so almost 2 months later, and basically say, hey, Tribal, you built this enhanced interaction logger for us. We need to do something extra, right? And the pain point here is because Salesforce task records only allow that one for one lookup, um, our reporting team really relies upon that ID to be that unique identifier to apply the rules that they need to do to combine records of data together. They can use the name, but because the name can be cloned and reused, it's really unreliable to use. So I came in here to this project. I see that the campaigns are here. So I told Tribal I need to add 2 fields to this process and update the Apex that currently populates all the fields to support the existing campaign 2 and 3 name text fields. I told Tribal that the two new fields do need to be text fields themselves, but they need to store the IDs from those other text fields. And the Apex just basically needs to be updated to allow that. So you can see it kind of thought for a little bit. It understood the requirements, and then it actually asked me a few follow-up questions, which you can see those here. What naming conventions should we follow? And I gave it that one. And then should these new ID fields also be populated on the follow-up task? Because we do give our users the ability to create follow-up tasks if they need to go back to the customer and ask any other questions after a certain time period. And I told it yes. So Tribal did its thing and updated the architecture, and it noted which fields it was adding and which components with the Apex controller, the test class, and the permission set, because we try to use permission sets in our org, it was updating to make sure these fields got updated. So I can see all of that even in the architecture here. So if I scroll in just a little bit here and bear with me as I adjust this. It might be a little small, but I'll see how quickly I can get into this. But you can see here are my two original campaign text fields that I was working with. And here are the two new fields that were added. So, and
Amazing.
those were things that I did all on my own. I let Tinker know that I was doing this, but they were very hands off with this. I was able to ask Tribal this and basically get it done in a matter of maybe a couple hours, and it was already ready to test by the time I got to it.
Amazing. Danielle, so you were able to go into Tribal and find the project that Tinker Time and the Tribal team did beforehand. And if we look at the top of the screen, there's the part with the requirements, and you just showed us the architecture. So basically,
Mhm.
all the work was documented by default. And when you were prompting it, you could see that the architecture is going to change, and you were able to feel and see that this is going in a direction of meeting your requirements.
Absolutely, and it didn't take long either. I didn't have to sit there and, prompt it 3 different ways. I was able to get it. You can see my prompt is very simple. This is what I need. This is why I need it to do it, and these are the fields that it's connected to. And it took all of that very quickly. I mean, the time between 10:39 and when it gave me these follow-up questions is less than 5 minutes, so or a little bit over 5 minutes, and it was already done. So, I had it done in 20 minutes because you can see deploying, done. And so, the fact that I was able to do this, I'm a non-developer, I don't know code, so I'm extremely uncomfortable when it comes to anything Apex. So the fact that I could come in here, it's already built the Apex, it's already familiar with the things that it built before, and just ask it and tell it what it needed to do, and it was able to do that in 20 minutes. I count that as a win.
Amazing. And how did it feel when you were able to go to the deployment screen and deploy
Yeah,
your project and see it? What was the feeling like?
man. Gosh, for a non-developer like myself, it was a relieving feeling, right? Because as a non-developer, maybe you have that anxiety because you don't know code, you don't know the things that potentially you could break very easily because you don't know the code. So the fact that I was able to come in here and that not only what Tinker and Tribal partnered on to create is owned by Tribal and it knows what it's doing, and I could just again I keep mentioning it and repeating myself, but this was 20 minutes. This would have taken me days to figure out if I could even figure out with coding. And then not to mention, I'm a small team. I've got one other architect on my side that does that. And, to ask him to drop whatever he's doing, because he's also looking at Tribal from agent force perspective and seeing what we can do as far as developing agents in Tribal. The last thing I want to do is take him and take his focus away from that. two custom fields and adjust apex, right? So I had that done in 20 minutes where it probably would have taken us a few hours, if not a few days, just to make this small minor adjustment. So it's pretty empowering to have that.
So good to hear, Danielle, and well done. When we were talking, Danielle, you mentioned that you also use Claude Code and other AI tools in your daily
Yeah,
life.
absolutely.
What made Tribal different for you? Why not do the same quickly in Claude?
So I'm going to just shuffle back over to components here and click this very easily accessible preview button because the fact that I can show you guys this behind what I'll say here is really what helps Tribal out. And it's that preview. Where Tribal kind of exceeds is the fact that it's so visual. I've used Claude and yeah, Claude is great. I there are things in Claude that I can do that really help out in the different areas of analysis that I'm doing. But where Tribal kind of gets a little bit of a different experience to me and a little bit more accessibility to me is the visualizations. So the fact that I have in front of me this architecture diagram and I can see where all of the components are connected and how it all runs. And the fact that I can preview any LWCs that I'm creating without having to fully deploy it into my sandboxes is what is phenomenal about Tribal. So with Claude, if I was doing any kind of LWC development with that, I would have to push it into my different test environments and gosh only knows, sometimes I can be a little bit of a perfectionist, right? As we all are. And you would have to constantly tweak it and re-push it every single time just to make those minor adjustments. The fact that I can go in here into components and click on this preview button and interact with the tool in the Tribal application. So I'm not even coming out of here. I'm not deploying it. I'm not doing any of those tests in my sandbox environments and taxing my sandbox environments with all of that is amazing, right? I can't do that with Claude. So it really allows me to kind of foolproof the solution that I'm working on before it even touches my environments.
It's so magical to hear you say things like that, Danielle, because that was the whole intention and the whole idea behind Tribal to enable the entire team to come together and collaborate. And here you are
Right.
going into a project that was built for you, but being able to go right in, modify the apexes, update the LWCs to what you need in a very short period of time, but with full transparency and visibility to what you're walking into and what you are walking away with in the
Exactly.
deployment. Also enabling the rest of the team to come in and see what
See it.
exactly you did. And it's in the release notes that Tribal produces. It's in the
Yep.
architecture design that was updated. And that keeps everyone on the same page.
That's another great thing about Tribal is if there's questions, the collaboration it allows with our tool or with our project that we're working on is also another fantastic um, use case of this because it allows us to ask questions to each other and we can see in the chat the different activities that are going on. It will of course show myself doing work. It will, if I need to have my colleague jump in and look at the work that I'm doing, now he doesn't have to spend time hunting me down, asking me questions about what's going on. He can simply look through the requirements, the architecture, the components, the chat, and just see the things that I'm improving upon and add to it and get up to speed that much faster without having to take time away from our day to figure that out.
Wow, what a great benefit for you and the team. I'm seeing in the chat someone asking what use cases can Tribal cover. I can give my pitch answer, but it will be very more interesting to hear you, Danielle. What did you do with Tribal and the teams are doing with Tribal? What kind of use
Yeah.
cases are we tackling together?
Yeah. So I would say, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen temporarily here, always ready to pull that back up. But I would say, as far as use cases go, some big ones that I would say our team today will struggle with often is LWCs, right? LWCs require a lot of code, a lot of familiarization in the environment and understanding, developing Apex classes to tie into those. It's a lot. And being able to give those use cases and those stories to Tribal to say, Tribal, this is our problem. What can you come up with? And having those visualizations, that preview, I cannot compliment it enough. Being able to work on that visualization, see the preview, and interact with it all within Tribal is where we're seeing a lot of our user stories and
Mhm.
our projects currently focus on with Tribal.
Incredible. I will add that overall, Tribal supports the full management of the platform. So you can build flows and Apex code and LWCs, full fledged applications, as well as Agentforce agents that are easy to deploy and then fine tune. So quite
And
versatile.
that's our next exploration is Agent Force agents and tribals. So I'm flagging all of these LWCs, which are great and all, but now we need Agent Force help too. So I've already talked to our Agent Force, or not Agent Force, excuse me, Tribal contact, and he's helping us out there to get some early initiatives going. And at some point, he'll transition that to us so that we can really explore it a little bit more. Because I don't know about anybody else, but we're still in that gray area of exploration with Agent Force ourselves. So any tool that can help us get up to speed a lot faster, but yeah, we'll take it.
We're looking forward to it. Maybe on one of our next sessions, we'll showcase some of the agents that we've built together with you.
Absolutely. Happy to do so.
Thank you, Danielle. I think we're coming to a close, and I'll ask you my last question is what would you are a non-developer, you're a business
Yeah.
analyst, and you
Yep.
told a story of empowerment with Tribal. What would you tell other business analysts with a similar background like yours who are scared of touching code but would love to become more empowered and independent like yourself?
Yeah. Thanks to Tribal. Don't be afraid, right? It can do everything that it needs to do in the tool itself before you even push it out to your environment. And I'm not even talking about production. I'm talking about your sandboxes that everybody works in first, right? Don't be afraid to explore with Tribal, question it, validate it, just put your use cases out there, the changes and the projects that you need assistance on, and dig in, because the more you get hands on with it, definitely the more comfortable you'll get with the tool. And, I keep coming back to it, but 20 minutes was all it took for a non developer, not familiar with code. I see code and I get anxious just looking at it, to make a quick adjustment with a code that did not break the process completely, which is, the scariest part for somebody who's deploying that. For a sales team who is in the field, and I'm based in the US, it's an Australia team, so almost a day ahead if a problem were to arise. So, I didn't break any of that. So now I feel even more comfortable to do things that I need to do to help that team out more.
Tremendous. Danielle, thank you for sharing your story. For our
Absolutely.
audience, feel free to visit gotribal.ai and sign up for your own very own trial of Tribal, and we'll be very happy to connect. And Danielle, thank you so much again for joining this conversation and showing us
Thanks for
your
having
demo.
me.
Absolutely, absolutely. And see you soon again.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye bye.